Yo, we're back for another 1-2 session. I've got 3 sessions left from 2024. I'm trying to get these out, and then we have a new exciting challenge coming out in 2025 I've talked about once before. It's going to be super hyped up. I think a lot of you guys are going to call me an idiot, but I'm going to release it in a few videos. So anyways, let's get right into this one. We're in shuffle 1-2 for 300. The first hand, we look down at ace jack of diamonds from the button straddle. There's a bunch of limps to me, and I pop it up to 30. I get a couple of calls, including the small blind, to a flop of jack 7-6 with 2 hearts. It checks to me, and obviously there's other jacks, there's hearts to get valued from, a ton of stuff, so I bet for 40. The small blind jams for 168. When it gets back to me, I snap call. I didn't flop top pair, top kicker to fold to a jam like this. And we agree to run it once, as I always do, and the board runs out like this.
Wow. Got there. She's showing out.
He shows king, queen of hearts. So I think equity-wise, he was actually a favorite with 2 overs and a flush draw there. Really sucky to lose that hand. As I said, it has been a tough December poker-wise, a downswingy month. We lose another all-in where I don't think we did anything wrong. And right after this hand, literally the guy racks up. So some of you guys might have some sort of thought about that. Just thought I'd put that out there. Let's move on to the next hand. I think at ace-king against a short stack, who's a guy named Danny. Really nice guy. He's one of the managers here. Always love playing with him. Gives a ton of action. Really nice guy. He opens. I 3-bet him with ace-king. When it gets back to him, he's short-stacked. He jams and shows ace-king suited. Obviously, it's probably going to be to chop, right? But no, the flop has 2 spades. Thankfully, no spade comes and we chop. And then the next hand gets pretty bonkers. There's a button straddle, so the small blind starts. If you're new to shuffle, that's how it works here. He jams for 36. He's just been jamming with a bunch of random crap trying to double up after he got short-stacked. Danny jams for 38, which, again, doesn't mean anything. He doesn't do this on like premium hands. And when it gets to me, I look down at king-jack. I think all 3 options are on the table here. Fold is fine with the entire table behind me and 2 short stack jams in front of me. Fold is not really something I'm in the mood to do at the moment. You could jam, raise. This table has not shown aggression enough to where that needs to happen. If I call, I don't anticipate a weak 3-bet coming. So I actually call, although I think folding or raising are probably the better options, raising to isolate. But then again, I'm probably behind one of them anyways. Regardless, the cutoff also calls. So we're 4 ways to a flop with 2 people all in. I've got like 70-ish behind. To 7, 10, 4, rainbow. I don't have any incentive to put money in the pot. I still have to beat the 2 all-in guys, right? So I check. And so does the cutoff. The cutoff is a very straightforward player, so I feel pretty comfortable playing with him. The turn is a 10. Again, don't think it really matters unless he had a 10 and was just trying to feel out or just trap me a little bit, which still wouldn't make any sense. So I check, and he checks again. The river is the king of hearts. We have the best hand here, I think, almost 100% of the time. I don't think he has a 10. I don't think he has a set of any sort. He might have king-queen once in a blue moon, but if he does, he does. I'll go all in for $70 around. That's how much I have in my stack, just to see if he calls. He quickly folds. I show the king-jack, and we're good. Danny on my right shows king-deuce of clubs, so our read was right. And the other guy shows 7-4 of spades, so we flopped 2 pair, got counterfeit on the turn, and then we got him on the river. So reads were right. Anyways, we win our first decent-sized pot of the day. I then switched tables to a table that I thought was a little more action. We're in the small blind in a bomb pot with queen deuce of hearts. It's been a while since we had a bomb pot on the channel. I know there are a few of you guys that don't love my bomb pot style, but allow me to try again. Queen deuce of hearts to a flop of 6-5 jack with 2 hearts and queen 9-3. So we have a flush draw on one board and top pair, no kicker on the other board. I think that's fine, good enough to lead out. I lead out for $15. The low jack calls, and then the high jack is a guy who's been in a couple of vlogs, the gambler, extremely aggressive. Later in the vlog, against other people, not myself, I mean, he jammed all in for no reason on a dry side pot and got snap called, where he had nothing. He would have had to beat another guy already in a massive pot that had a boat. Complete wild card is what I'm saying. He raises to 50. We have a really good draw and top pair. I'm not folding for 50, so I put in the call. What I should have realized is the low jack is short stacked. He has like $80-ish. I don't know how much exactly from across the table. He has enough to where he goes all in. My raise was 15. The gambler raised to 50. The low jack's all in was 85. Literally the dollar amount enough for let the gambler re-raise, and he does. He re-raises to 150. Now, if I would have realized that it would have opened the action, I probably would have folded because in theory we're getting scooped by anyone that's got us on the bottom board because we have queen high on the other board. But with the $50 invested, I've got like 200-ish, a little over in my stack. I think we just have to go with it here because sometimes we're good on the queen board and then we have a draw to a very strong hand on the other board. So I go all in and the gambler snap calls. We're all in with a weak queen. I really need some help, I think. The top board comes the 4 of spades and 3 of diamonds. The bottom board comes the 10 of hearts and the 4 of hearts. I wanted the hearts on the other board. I didn't even realize, it took me like 5 seconds to realize, I have a straight on the top board and a queen on the other board. I show queen deuce of hearts. The gambler shows pocket jack, so we had top set on the top board. We're scooping him, and the low jack has 6-8 of hearts for a pair and a flush draw. We scooped this whole thing. That's crazy. That was quite the emotional rush right there. I thought we might have gotten scooped there when we didn't hit a heart, but I didn't realize we rivered the straight and our queen is good on the other board. We win a massive pot in a really potentially sketchy situation. Let's go. This next hand is one of the most poker hands I've played in a while, and when it gets later in the hand, you'll see what I'm talking about. I looked down at ace-10 offsuit shortly after that bomb pot hand, and I'm really not in the mood to open ace-10 offsuit, get 3-bet, or play a decent-sized pot out of position. So I actually just limp it under the gun, and it limps around to a flop of ace-3-9 with 2 spades. Now I think it's fine for a bet. We have top pairs, really good kicker. I bet out for $15 and only get a call from the button in the small blind. The turn is a jack of diamonds. I think it's actually a brick outside of jack 9 suited because both of these players are good enough to open ace jack at 100% frequency when it's limped to them. So I think we still have the best hand unless someone has 2 pair. I bet out for $30 when the small blind checks to me. This time the button folds, but the small blind calls. The small blind is a guy, really solid reg. I respect his game a lot. Quite the thinking player. The river is a 7 of spades, and he's now done checking. He leads into me for $85. My thoughts here live were that it's one of 2 things. A worse ace realizing they're no good and is turning their hand into a bluff, or be a flush. He's a very capable player. I've had multiple people. At the Copa Club it happened. It's happening in a future vlog where people are turning river showdown value hands into bluffs against me. I've been calling a lot, but I just want a big pot. This is a big bet, and I do think it's a flush a decent percentage of the time. Although I definitely don't think it's 2 pair. Maybe ace-7 does this at sub-frequency. So I think it's a flush or a worse ace. I know it's a good player, but I end up putting in the fold, and he shows me the ace of spades. But later on, he tells me he had ace-6 offsuit with only 1 spade. So turned his ace of spades into a bluff, realizing the kicker was no good. If that's true, then hats off to him. Really good bet. We get schooled. Then get ace-9 offsuit in the hijack. I don't know about you guys. A lot of my 1-2 games, there's just a ton of limping at all of them. I'm going to limp some hands just to get in there. Ace-9 offsuit falls into that category. So a multi-way to a flop of jack 7-9 with 2 diamonds. We have middle pair, that's about it. But it checks around. The turn is the ace of spades, introducing a lot of draws and 2 pair for us. Under the gun is short stacked. He bets out for $15. Could raise, there are some draws, but I think we have the best hand, and we're probably going to still have it by the river. So I just call, thinking he's going to ship the river because he probably has a made hand based on player type. The river is the 4 of hearts. Everything misses really clean, and he does jam for a little over $50. I snap call, and he shows 7-9 of clubs. He flops 2 pair, and we suck out on the turn. You hate to see it. This next hand gets super wild and is really complicated, so stay with me here. It's a massive pot, the biggest hand of the vlog. The +1 is the guy from the flush draw hand on the bomb pot. He was a low jack with 6-8 hearts. He's had a tough time, normally pretty tight, solid reg, but keeps buying in for like $100, and he's just having a tough time. He opens to 12, so I can't give this too much credit. The gambler calls right next to him, and then when it gets to the hijack on my right, he goes all in for $20. Another guy that's had a really tough time. He basically announced screw it before he did it, so I don't know what he has. Maybe he's just trying to get odds. Live, my thought process here was to 3-bet and try to go heads up with the +1, who I anticipate jamming after I do that. But then I don't think that makes too much sense because the +1, I think either we're flipping or he's got a better hand. And the +2 doesn't like to fold anyway, so I think that's actually a mistake. A call is the better option. But I choose the aggressive route this time and 3-bet to 75. The button, the first guy I have to get through, goes into the tank. And I'm thinking, are you serious right now? Am I about to get 4-bet with a guy directly on my left? It really didn't want to happen. Eventually, he just calls a 75. I have no idea what hand that is. What, 9s, 10s, jacks? Like, what hand wants to do that? Ace, king, ace, queen, something like that. It gets back to the +1, and he does not fold. He goes all in for 82. The gambler, I'm thinking, come on, man. I mean, you just flat called. Like, you can't have that strong of a hand. Just fold. He calls. Again, my 3-bet now with ace-jack looks kind of stupid. I put in the call. So does the button. So we're 5 ways to a flop with ace-jack with 2 people all in as a 3-better. To 7-5-3 rainbow. This is a really important thing that I'm in position of the gambler because even though there's some dead money in there that he has to beat, he does not care. If he was in position after he checks to me and I check, if he were in position, he would bet and it would get real awkward. So when he checks, I check, the button checks as well. So I think he's got big broadways as well. The turn is the miracle jack of hearts. We make top pair, top kicker. But now the +2 leads into me for $69. Obviously, I mean, we have nothing to do here, right? I mean, there's not a lot of draws. We have top pair, top kicker in a massive pot. I do think raising actually wouldn't be the worst thing, but we're deep still. I think it might be a little bit of an overplay, and this player is extremely capable at bluffing. I think this is a bluff right now, so I just put in the call. And what I was really concerned about is the button. He folds, thankfully. I think he just had ace king, ace queen, and he just was like, what do I do with pre-flop? This is a big free bet. The river is the deuce of spades, a brick, and now he bets into me for 75. Normally I would snap call, but December has just been pretty bad, so it just took me a second, but obviously I know what I'm doing, so maybe it's a bit of a net roll. I call. He shows queen 8 of hearts. He turned a flush draw. That was about it, so I was happy with my read. The +1 shows pocket nines, and then the hijack shows jack 5 offsuit. So we end up winning a massive pot after a 3-bet with ace-jack goes kind of wrong. Stack is looking really pretty. It's been a tough December, so being up a lot feels really nice. The next hand is a bomb pot. I didn't even notice what my hand was on the bomb pot. I have pocket 4s, and there's a 4 on one of the flops. 9 deuce 4 and jack queen 7. The hijack on my right just goes all in for 84, and I do my best like Hollywood impression. I eventually call, and we go heads up. The turns are the ace of clubs and the king of spades. And the rivers are the 4 of hearts and the 3 of diamonds. We make quads, so we're good on that board. And he shows 10-9, so he makes a straight on the turn on the bottom board. We were basically free-rolling his whole stack. You'll love to see that, which actually does make sense, though. I mean, an open-ender and a top pair. So anyways, we don't really make a lot of money, but we make quads and the opportunity to free-roll a guy. Love to see it. This next hand is pretty interesting. I see pocket 10. I've been up to $17 and get a call from the button, the big blind, the +1, to a flop of 3, 4, 5, all hearts. Not ideal, as we have black pocket 10s. The big blind just leaves for 40. The +1 calls, and when it gets to me, this looks like more of a decision than it actually is. The big blind is a guy I played with that just sat down. He was the guy I called the detective a while ago in one of those hands where he just like jammed on me with 7 high pre-flop for no reason. He could have anything, and I mean that. Ace of hearts, top pair. When the +1 calls, this is the guy that bluffed us with ace 6. That's where it gets weird. I think he's weighted toward the ace of hearts, and the other guy's weighted towards some type of value. We have an overpair here. I could sometimes see raising if it wasn't monotone or we had a heart, but I think this is just a spot where we're either behind, and if we're ahead, it's going to be really difficult to navigate any turn or river. So I just fold the overpair, and the button folds, and when we get to the river, the +1 had the 6 of hearts. The turn was the 2 of hearts, and he makes a straight flush. No idea what the big blind had. Really interesting hand there. Always not fun to flop an overpair and have to fold, but it happened, so we move on. That concludes this vlog. We were in for 300, out for $850 in about 3 hours of play. You love to see that. As I said, I've got 2 more sessions from 2024, and then the ones from 2025 where I'm starting this new challenge are going to come out. As always, if you guys have any ideas about how I could have played any hands differently, let me know. Apologies if anyone was thinking the editing was a little lackluster this time. I'm just trying to pop these out real quick before I get to the 2025 vlogs, and also work has been super busy, so trying to balance it all. Anyways, I'm Chris, and I'm out. I'll see you guys later.